Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. Yeah. All honesty, I was very excited for this movie because I love the original Chicken Run. I used to visit my grandma. She lives about 2 hours. She lives out in the desert, and we used to when I was younger, we used to go over to her house for the summer because your kids, you don't have much to do, and we watched movies a lot, and we watched a lot of Muppets because those are my one obsession, and then we watched a lot of British animation like Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run. Chicken Run, one that got watched many times. I don't watch it as much now. It's probably one of the movies I've seen the most throughout my life just because I love that movie. I did a video reviewing it and lead up to this movie. But needless to say, I kind of was very excited about this movie. And yeah, it did not disappoint. It is not as good as the original Chicken Run. I think the original Chicken Run is probably one of the best stop motion animated movies ever made. It's probably one of the best animated films of the 2000s, and it's definitely one of the best Aardman movies. They don't have a lot, so it's not really hard to say that, but this movie's really good. It's still, I think I have a few problems with it. I guess we'll just get all those out of the way since I don't have a lot. I didn't like that they replaced all the original voice actors. I get Mel Gibson. I'm not gonna be offended by that choice. Like, Mel Gibson, we don't need to go into his crap, but I get why you replaced him. But everybody else, they replaced because they thought their voices has aged too much. I'm like, it's been a little over 20 years. If Mark Hamill can still do the fucking voice of the Joker, like he still does from time to time, then I'm sorry, like, his voice has not aged that much. You're full of shit. Their voices have not aged that much. I just don't believe that. I thought all the new voice actors did fine, but it's just like they were still a little off for me. Wasn't too distracting. I still enjoyed the movie, but I just want to get that out of the way. And also, I think that this film, the reason it's not as good as the original Chicken Run to me is that movie had more moments of quiet. There's a similar scene in this movie where one of the chickens crawls in the machine and gets turned into a nugget. And it's played similar to the scene in the first movie where Miss Tweety cuts the head off the chicken. You see the silhouettes. You don't really see the full details of it. And Ginger's very upset and cries. But that scene was wonderful because it was silent. It was effective. It really did a lot to add you into this situation. Where this film has a similar scene, like I just said, but it doesn't have the quiet to it. It's more lousy and not lousy, but more noisy and busy. This movie. That's okay. I liked a lot of the gags. I thought it was a very funny movie. It had a lot of that great British humor. But it did feel like I was missing a little bit of that. Also, this movie doesn't feel as fresh or as inventive as the first movie. That's not a bad thing or a negative thing. It's, the first movie, chickens breaking out a farm. It was a fresh and inventive concept. Now they're breaking in. It's still a lot of fun, just, not as inventive because it's kind of what we've been doing before. I also find it weird so many people flipped out, by the way, that the villain in the original movie died. If you watch the original movie, she didn't die. She landed, and they show you her landing in the movie. She landed in her machine that was going to turn them all into pies. I don't know, but the animation in this movie is gorgeous. It definitely feels like so much better than the original movie. Not that the original animation was bad, but it's 20 years of technology difference. They've been able to really upgrade and do some amazing work. Like I said, this was a very funny movie. I laughed quite a bit throughout it, and I thought Bella Ramsey, this character of Molly, Ginger and Rocky's daughter, was a lot of fun, and her voice acting is great. She's very talented actress, and so she was good in that performance, in that role. And yeah, I just thought all that worked. And I kind of, after watching this movie, I kind of want them to do a Chicken Run series where where it's just them saving various chickens from chicken farms. I feel like they could do that, and it could be a lot of fun because that's kind of what they set up in this movie a little bit at the end of it. Oh, one more criticism I do have that's negative. I do hate that the plot of this movie does hinge on a plot line that I just hate in movies. That's just one I can't stand. Where you have a character who knows information but doesn't want to tell the other character because they're afraid. But if they just told the other character the information, the whole problem would have been fucking solved. It's just like, because Molly sees this truck in this movie that has like chickens giving thumbs up in a bucket. And she thinks that, oh, cool. Now, Ginger knows what that means, but doesn't want to tell her because she's afraid. And is like, well, if you just explained to her, she never would have run off the island. I guess she would have technically probably done it later on, but maybe not to such a dangerous place, and the whole conflict of the movie would have been solved a lot easier. It's just dumb. I don't like plot lines like that in movies. I think if you're going to have a plot line in a movie where a character makes a decision like that, it should always be just to tell the other person and solve the conflict. I think there's always better ways to write that. I just think it's dumb. But overall, it wasn't a huge criticism. I thought this was a very solid movie. It was very enjoyable. If you like the original Chicken Run, if you like Aardman, you gotta watch this movie. I mean, it's good. It's not... Actually, I'd say it's pretty good. It's not, like, great, like the original Chicken Run. But that, like, original Chicken Run, 9 out of 10. This movie, 8 out of 10. They're not that far off, but there's just something a little bit missing just for me. Not enough to ruin the experience or make it unenjoyable, but definitely to make me notice that I'm not enjoying the movie as much as that first movie.